The Empire will rule over all of you. The age of ice cream is over. The age of buttered popcorn is now. Pratty-chan. Moving away from the holotank that the means of the way technicians had put the annoying Trinidad into, Protopit stood by one of the means of the way technicians. "You're sure?" she asked, bruxing her back teeth in anger. "It is without a doubt, High Lord," the technician said, cringing slightly as the way of the means guard put one hand on his shoulder and squeezed slightly. "I am from the Office of Scientific Inquiry, and I know that there is no way that superluminal communication is possible," Protopit stated coldly. "The Trinidad, T-Chad, is asking people what the weather is like on their planets. He keeps showing audience uploaded pictures of various planets," the technician said. "Before this expedition was launched, I was assigned to an expedition to Telkin II," the cringing male continued. "And?" Protopit snapped. "Well," the technician turned to the tank and brought up 2 pictures. In one, a building had scaffolding around it, the bones of the building visible. In the other picture, the scaffolding was gone, to reveal light blue marble sheathing on the building, polarized windows, and smart screens advertising products. "The one on the left I took. The one on the right was uploaded 10 minutes ago. It's the same area." Protopit stared at the screen in rage, clenching her fists as she had to accept the proof. "We're several thousand light-years from Telkan," the technician said. "The insect was chatting in real time with that user. He even showed a video of several of immature Telkans dancing in a water sprinkler on a lawn. How are they able to achieve superluminal communication?" Protopit asked, before bruxing her teeth. The technician just shrugged. "Unknown." He cringed as the way of the means guard tightened her grip on his shoulder, making the bones in his shoulder grind together. "But we know it can be done," he squealed. "That is more than we knew." Protopit gave a curt nod, and the guard released the technician. "Keep gathering data," she ordered, her voice tight with anger and stress. She turned away. She moved back to the tank where the insect was amusing his audience. The stream had been going on for over 3 hours, with no sign of slowing down. "Lord High Protopit," another technician called out. "This one from the voice of the way." Protopit growled and changed direction, moving around the holotanks, until she found the communications specialist who had called out. "What?" she snapped. "The insect leader wants to speak with you," the communications specialist said, waving at the tank. "Tell it that I'll speak with it when I'm ready," Protopit snarled. "There you are," the Trinidad in the tank said. It looked to the side. "Good job isolating her signal." "Get out of my communications net," Protopit snapped. "Make me," the insect said, putting its blade arms behind its back. "Those 3 teams you have on the larger moon?" "I do not know what you refer to," Protopit said, her voice stuffy. "These teams," the insect said. 3 windows opened up, showing the 3 technical teams trying to figure out how to open the large doors on the larger moon. "What about them?" Protopit asked. "You might want to get them to move." "Those doors are going to open," the insect said. "That is what they are supposed to do," Protopit snorted. "Not like you think," the insect said. "They aren't opening because of anything you did. They're opening because of outside influence you cannot understand." Protopit frowned. "Do not assume to tell me what orders to give my investigation team. This is a Terratomb world. Nothing is operational." The insect made a motion that the holotank labeled as signifying a negative. "This is worse. I've warned you that this world is not what you think, but you've insisted on sending in teams anyway," the insect said. "Bah! It is obvious you are attempting to conceal things that the Empire should have by right," Protopit stated. "Your simple tricks won't work on me." The insect made another motion signifying a negative. "If those doors open, The teams near them will be killed by accident. Save your people and have them move at least a kilometer away." The insect vanished from the holotank. Protulpit stood there for a long moment. She hated, absolutely loathed, the idea of doing anything one of the fallen races wanted her to do. But she couldn't take the chance. So far, the insectal Trinidad had been somewhat cooperative. She'd make sure to include that in her report, and perhaps the Emperor would spare their race as a reward during this expedition. Recall those excursion teams. Tell them to drop surveillance drones on their way out, Protulpit ordered. Tell them to go to the smaller moon, to the entrance point that the previous team used, and gain access. Play along until we can gain the upper hand. The technicians complied with her orders, moving to their stations and relaying her orders. She stood and watched as the teams withdrew, the holotank opening windows to show what the drones were sensing. She gasped as the doors, all three of them, suddenly lowered and streaks of light whipped out of the door, throwing up dust, before the door slammed shut. The surface of the moon, in a line miles long extending from the door and almost a mile wide at its widest, was clean of dust. The lunar dust was billowed out in a cloud at the far end of the streak, the cloud broken into 5 discrete sections. "What was that?" Protulpit asked. It took the technicians a few moments to isolate the scant number of frames that showed anything but a streak. Even then, the image was blurred. Spacecraft. Small craft, by the Empire's standards. Wide wings, needle-like body. The ships launched out, one after another, 6 from each door. "Were you able to track them?" Protulpit asked. The technicians shook their heads. They were moving too fast and engaged stealth systems immediately, the was most common answer. Protulpit bruxed her teeth, feeling her irritation rise. "Lord High Protulpit?" One of the technicians watching the annoying insects stream called out. "Something different is going on." She hurried over, cursing the day the Empire had ever met the annoying insects. If it wasn't for their overwhelming numbers, their overpowering martial might, and their nearly omnipotent technological advancements, the Empire would have crushed them at the first meeting. "Well, Podling So Fluffy 72291, it looks like whole group is basically locked up. I'd say that they are about to get individual assistance from a Tier 2 supervisor," the insect was saying in between taking bites of a greasy-looking brown stick. He looked out of the holotank. "Hey, it's Protulpit again." Protulpit just nodded stiffly. "It looks like your boys are locked up. The elves are going to give them individual counseling to assist them," the insect said. He gestured with the stick, which Protulpit guessed was some kind of meat. "But I have better news for you, personally." Protulpit didn't like how excited the insect looked. "What is that?" The insect slid to one side of the screen, then gestured with the meat stick at the other side. "Tata!" A cartoon version of Protulpit appeared, with sleek fur, prominent ears, wide expressive eyes, trembling whiskers, a hat, and some kind of clothing. "Meet Prati-chan, the most popular Tsundra waifu on Galtube," the insect said. "The Empire will crush you all," the artificial version of her said, in a voice that was almost hers, but a little too high, breathless, and squeaky. "Stop that right now," Protulpit yelled. "Do as I command," the artificial version of her said, batting her large eyes. "Don't you want to be friends with the Empire?" The insect started laughing, choked on a bite of the meat stick, then started laughing again. Means of the Way Senior Technical Specialist Atrogu just stared at the image on the 2.5D monitor above him, lightly stroking the side with one hand as he stayed motionless, afraid if he moved the image would vanish. He avoided the next, random, and previous icons, as well as the accept icon, which was blurred out. She was lovely. Her fur was sleek, her eyes wide and expressive with lavender irises. Her nose was perfectly pointed with delicate whiskers. Her ears were well-shaped, with a cute streak of light brown at the tips. He had been staring at her since she had appeared on the monitor during the Friends and Family section of character generation that he had been going through. The screen went dark suddenly, and Atrogu cried out, grabbing both sides of the monitor. "No, come back," he said. The screen retracted, and the lid suddenly lifted on the comfortable cradle he was laying in. One of the terrors was sitting next to him, looking down. He started to cringe back, but then saw her expression. Kind, caring. She wiggled her nose in concern. "Valued customer Atrogu, your anxiety metrics are rising, and you have been unable to continue during character generation," the terror said, her voice lovely and lilting. She made imperial speech sound almost musical. Who was she?" Atrogu asked. The terror smiled, mouth closed, just the corners turning up. "A prospective mate, or someone you could meet, or a lifelong friend. It was up to you." But, how?" Atrogu asked. "The Born Whole system for your species is now online," the terror said. She reached in and touched the top of Atrogu's head. He flinched slightly, but the terror just merely gently stroked the fur between his ears, her hand soft and gentle. "Can you bring her back?" Atrogu wondered. "Of course. She would be fully generated by the time you reached the planet," the terror said. She shook her head slightly. "Although you have been gifted a 6-month subscription, you had not chosen rebirth, meaning you can only interact with her virtually." "Wait, I could actually meet her?" Atrogu said. He reached up to the terror, and she took his hand with her free hand. It was warm and soft. "Meet her. Get to know her. Perhaps even pair bond with her," the terror said. "What must I do?" Atrogu asked. "Would you like me to assist you in going through the options? You have received a great many gifts and well wishes," the terror said. Atrogu thought for a moment. "Yes, please." The terror gave another one of those approving smiles that made Atrogu want to please her. "First of all, you have a 3-month full experience subscription gifted to you by Doctrines, Final 99212, with a personal message of live free little rodent guy. Do you accept?" the terror asked. Atrogu nodded. "Next up is a Advanced Friends and Family Pack, gifted to you by 4-Arm Pinchocha Goddess, with a personal message of live love rodent dude. Do you accept?" the terror asked. Again, he nodded. "Will I be able to meet her?" The terror smiled and gently petted Atrogu's head, smoothing his fur between his ear. "Of course, valued customer Atrogu. Bobco has what you need." She paused for a second. "Even if you don't know you need it." The door opened up and Commander Crect Pop entered the stateroom. It had been a secondary officer's mess only 6 hours ago. Now it had been reconfigured for use by naval intelligence. 12 carefully built cubicles, with their own decorations, own lighting, and a Confederate naval intelligence specialist now occupied the space formerly taken up by tables and chairs. Atunvaru was sipping a bingo cola and talking to her audience of nearly 500,000 Galtube viewers about how the DRA. Empire had appeared nearly 1,200 years ago, acting like assholes toward the Confederacy and demanding technology and other tribute, as well as settled systems. Atuknaren was going over each historical point regarding the 4-way, now 3-way war between the DRA. And the other factions, and how recently stellar ignition weapons had been used. Commander Crect Pop moved over to where Lieutenant Wemp Click was eating a spicy slender James meat stick, wearing his officer's hat with the LED set to random. Wemp Click saw Commander Crect Pop coming up. "Here, Pratichon, you take over the show and inform our audience how they cannot resist you," Wemp said. He typed quickly, then pushed back, looking up at Commander Crect as the other Trinidad folded his blade arms on the sound-baffling wall of the cubicle. "Status?" Crect asked. He could see the cartoon Dra Fulton batting her eyes, twitching her whiskers, and looking cute as she informed the audience that they could not resist her or the Empire. Patty-Chon has her frothing at the mouth so badly that she can't think straight, the LT laughed, which is just spawning more memes and even Rule 34 of her. The commander chuckled. Does she have any idea that there's 12 Bobco frigates aiming C+ cannons at her? The commander asked. Y. Wemp shook his head. I don't think they can burn through the stealth. Anything else? Krecht asked. Y. Wemp motioned at his 2.5D screens. My audience keeps gifting those poor bastards stuff. Right now, everyone has between 2 and 5 years of full subscription, complete with DLC and expansion packs. We might be able to pin her here for years. Y. Wemp motioned at the others. Right now, everyone is doing reaction streams to me, since it isn't like anyone can stream snipe me. Krecht nodded. Keep me informed. The Admiral wants to make sure this doesn't get out of hand. He lit a cigarette. With Bobco involved, we still need to be careful. Y. Wemp nodded back, turning back to his screen and scooting back up to the holographic interface. No, Patty-Chon, not the Tuckner and Acapella Quartet videos, he said, laughing as he cracked open a can of Bingo Cola. Krecht moved over to the Rigelian female, who was dressed in buckskin, showing off a lot of muscle and flesh. Have all 3 teams move to the entrance on the smaller moon. I want them to enter the facility to back up the first team, Protopit ordered. She bruxed her back teeth and wrung her hands in anger. Alert the other scientific teams. She stared at the Trinidad on the holotank that was currently dancing with a cartoon version of her as Tuckner and dressed in red and white striped suits with matching hats all sang. We will wrest the secrets from this place, and then that annoying insect will pay, Protopit promised.